Hello and welcome to Thrifty Question Time. This is your alternative online 2020 chance to get up and close and face-to-face with some of your regular Festival of Thrift workshop leaders. Here they are. So if you were panicking about missing rolling up your sleeves and learning up a new skill with us this year, fear not. Today, you can get inspired, ask a burning question, or perhaps finally resolve that maddening thing that's been stopping you from perfecting your latest passion. Be it sourdough bread, darning socks, or finding ways to live more sustainably. So without further ado, I'll introduce these gorgeous faces in front of you. Some may be familiar and some not. First, me, I'm Simon Preston, and I've organised loads of events you've attended at Festival of Thrift over the last 8 years, and you may well have seen me running around looking quite stressed. So actually this year it's quite nice to be sitting down. On to the others. I'm going to ask each of you to give us a wave when I mention you, just so we know, so everyone knows who's who. First of all, Stephen Summers, or Steve, there he is. Steve describes himself brilliantly, I thought, as a grave digger and organ harvester of dead technology. Over the years, he says he's butchered many an obsolete computer and liberated the innards for strange new musical purposes. There you go. In 2007, he started Noisy Toys to encourage acoustic exploration with upcycled e-waste. And now, through Scavenger Labs, his devoted disciples can study the ancient art of unmaking. Fair enough, Steve?
Well done. Well done, Simon.
Thank you. Pauline Taylor, where is she? There she is, an old friend of mine. She's an artist specializing in kites, banners and recycling. She runs workshop sessions for schools and for adults and has been involved in the Festival of Thrift, where we absolutely love her, I have to say, for quite a few years. She's the one who makes the site look so amazing with her brilliant flags that adorn our site. She also loves gardening and cooking, so we might hear from her on that too. Moving over to Rosi. Where are you, Rosi? There she is, that's Rosi Thornton. She's also an artist, a textile artist and community teacher. She combines pattern, colour, cloth to create textiles, quilts, prints and handmade books. She's passionate about recycling, art and communities and started Rejig to draw these together into a creative whole. Her focus is on recycled fabric, yay. And she says that with a bit of imagination, something old can be transformed into something new and fantastic, if only that were always the case. Next up, Adrian, give us a wave. There he is, along with his fabulous flowery sidekick.
I need to just show that, I think.
Oh, there you see. Self-introduced, our resident donut and donut maker. He's been running thrift bread making workshops indoors and outdoors since 2013, a long time now. He's into community baking in care homes, day centres, community centres, and to boot is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Oh.
There you go, Adrian. Morgan Lax, there he is out in the woods. Bless you, Morgan. Thanks for joining us from the woods there. He runs Rewilding Adventure, and he says they use adventurous activities in the wild to promote social, emotional, physical, and personal well-being for all those involved. And some of you, certainly I do, will remember him for his superb spoon carving workshops at previous festivals of thrift. And finally, last but not least, another old friend of mine, Richard Allen, there he is. He's a chef tutor. Some of you will know him from our campfire cooking workshops these last few years at the festival. He says that food and cooking has been his life for 30 years, inspired by wonderful cooks, restaurateurs, farmers, fishermen, butchers, customers, and friends. And he now devotes his time to passing knowledge and a love of good food and cooking on to others, which is what we're here for. Now, as you're watching us live on YouTube, do feel free to comment at any time. To ask the questions. Those will come to me and I'll do my best to ask as many as possible on your behalf. But happily, some of you have written in advance with questions, so we're good and ready to go. Now, I'm going to start by totally abusing my position and bumping my uncle to the front of the queue. And my uncle Rob, who lives in South Lakes. This is a question for Adrian. I'd really like you to give him a good answer, Adrian, because he's been bending my ear about this. He says his problem is he doesn't seem to be, this is a sourdough question, he doesn't seem to be able to get his starter to a really vigorous, bubbly state for mixing into the rest of the ingredients. His sourdough bread always looks like a pancake rather than a loaf. Is there a simple answer?
No. I wish there was. I wish there was. That's a slightly bubbly one. You can just sort of see here. There's a few little bubbles there. This is the sourdough mother, you know, the starter, that's been turned into like a production dough, and that's how you're going to get it a good start. So mother came out of the fridge last night, took a portion of it, flour and water, give it a mix through, cover it, and it's looking really nice, I must say. It's got a lovely smell. I wish you were all here to yes. Anyway, yes, that's what you need to start with. That's part of the problem, wasn't it? Of course. How do you get it going? Yeah. Well, do this.
I think I might need to put the two of you in touch with each other, actually, Adrian.
Well, I think so. Yeah, that's not the most helpful, I'm afraid. But that's using rye. That's rye is really, really, really full of energy and speed. And I'm just going to stick my hand in a little bit and just give you just rather nice, knocking some of the bubbles back. But it's still, put us in touch, because
stretchy.
I think it's a case of don't worry about it, which he probably isn't.
I think he is, actually. Maybe that's the thing. Just chill out a bit.
Yeah.
Pauline?
Can I just add? I thought you could make a starter by putting an apple or half an onion or something in with your flour and to get it going. Is that a thing? It
is very, very much so. Yeah. There's sort of like there's this thought that if you give the sourdough, your actual live leaven, if you give it something it's not going to have all the time, it's sort of the microflora's looking for that. That's not to say don't do it, because it's worked for me. If it's been left for a little while, you've forgotten about something that's festering in the bottom of your fridge, which is easily done, isn't it? Chuck some sultanas are great. Organic sultanas, or a bit of organic apple, like you say. Just give it a little wash, get the worst of the bugs off there. The bugs that are crawling rather than the little ones. And leave it in for a few days, and then just sieve them out. And it's like you say, it's not like a jolt, isn't it?
Thank you, Adrian. Go on, Stephen.
Just a quick point, because this is thrift, and we're talking about waste a lot, aren't we? And I've heard that a few people, that because you like, as you feed the starter, build it up, and then people are chucking away a lot of it. And
no, it's terrible, isn't it?
Out of it, can't you? I've heard from several people that they just chuck it away.
Yeah. It's definitely not thrifty, is it, Steve? I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
pancakes are thrifty, yeah.
Yeah, there's any number of books that will sort of like direct you to not doing that, but irritatingly, there's a number of books that will say do that, and you're like, no, that's not at all. I would show you some crumpets I made earlier, but we ate them. So the crumpets we're using discard, so that thing that people are throwing away, that actually was just put with a bit of flour and water last night until it bubbled away, and it's great. You don't even need proper sort of rings to do this, just a half decent sort of bit of metal, as we were doing in the woods last year, Richard, and a bit of oil on the metal plate, and something that's going to hold this sort of bubbly, gloopy sort of thing together, just long enough to set. So put it in cakes, put it in crumpets, put it in pikelets, whatever you want to call them. It's good in cakes as well. So instead of your bicarb, use it as a proper natural starter for any cakes. There's always the compost heap as well as a proper treat for the compost. Boy, it goes like the clappers when you put a bit of starter on there.
Adrian, you've gone on to answer a second question. Actually,
no,
it's good. That was Annie in Gateshead. She says her sourdough's completely gone mad and taking over the fridge. What should she do? Well, she sounds like she should bung it in her cakes. Pauline, you talked about your sourdough there. I'm so I think I need to come to your house and try your onion and apple sourdough. It sounds bizarre, but I'm going to come on to you with a question that's close to home for you. I've got we're going slightly further north to Pat in Durham. This is a question for you. She says she or he says she's been making eco bricks for a while now. which so have I. I'm getting pretty fed up with it. She says she's really looking for some new creative ways to reuse non-recyclable plastic. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay, well, yes. So eco bricks, if anyone doesn't know, I've got an eco brick here because I've been making them too. So you fill your bottle with all these squishy bits of plastic that you can't normally, your bread bags, banana bags. I don't know what to do with them. I haven't got enough because I don't drink enough pop. And I try not to buy things in bottles. So maybe we should all put our eco bricks together and make something. But anyway, what I've been doing is making, it's called Plabric. Bits of plastic that you iron together and you can then sew it. So this is a little it's like a pencil case. I use it for this one. Zips got stuck. You could, or with Velcro. I bet that's allowed on your speakers. So I use them actually for putting my wet swimming costume in after I've been dipping in the sea. Really useful things. But the way to do it, have you got a minute?
You can do it now, or you can do it in the background while I ask another question.
Yes, I will do, but I'll just explain it now. So you're starting with torn bags, things that aren't working. This is one I've half made. So I've started to make this bag into something stronger. And what happens is as you layer it, you put it between sheets of silicone paper, baking paper, or one of these oven liners. Sometimes I use that, these things. Yeah, that makes a good base. And you use your iron. So you put your bits of plastic. I'll do a very quick demo just of a couple of bits, and then you can see what happens. I've got to cover them up. This is not going to look very pretty because I haven't put them in a very good place. And then if this is hot enough, through the paper.
Pauline, how hot is the iron? Is that like on the hottest setting then to melt the plastic?
It should be on wool.
Wool.
Let's see if it's working. No, I think I just turned it down when we started because I could smell it. So it maybe needs to go up a bit more now.
Pauline, shall I let you get on with that while I ask another question?
Yes, you should do, because it's gone a bit, my iron's gone a bit quiet there. But yeah, so you end up with stuff.
I've looked at all of our faces were open mouthed while you were doing that. Yeah. I'm sure people don't work too. Brilliant.
What a brilliant tip. What an amazing tip.
We call it Plabric. Plastic fabric. Because you can sew it, so you could maybe use it too, Rose.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm going to just go outside now. Morgan, I'm going to come to you because I'm worried we might lose you at some point with your phone connection. You never know. I mentioned, Morgan, in my intro that you were in your spoon carving workshops, which I think was last year, which were brilliant. And we've had somebody who really wanted to book on, Steve from Middlesbrough, who really wanted to book on this year. Obviously, isn't going to get to go this time. Is it something you can show us online or at least get us started?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you look at a spoon, there's lots of different types of spoon. A spoon is a stick that can stir things, so it can just be dead simple, just to stir. It could be a honey dip or anything like that. But if you're going to carve a spoon, you need to know a little bit about wood. So you need to choose your wood carefully because it can ruin tools if it's too hard. It could taint food, that sort of thing. So this is just a little tiny piece of willow, and I'm just going to. This is one piece I made a little bit earlier. Just a little eating spoon. First thing to do is to split your wood up. This one's into 3 parts, so I can get 3 little spoons from here. Then once you've got that split, and what we use for that is a bill hook. So it's not a sharp tool, but we use a bill hook on the top, mallet, give it a good tap, so it splits. Once it's split, you're going to get this real rough inside here, and often you've got a line of like a pith line down the centre. You need to get that out, so it's going to be quite soft. So you just use a sheath knife, and all we do is just carve it away until it's nice and smooth. And once it's smoothed off, you can then draw, you can see that, your outline of your spoon. If you don't want to draw, you don't have to draw. You can just freestyle it if you want. Then all you do is you use a sheath knife and you just chip away a little bit by little bit until you've got the rough shape of the spoon. The trick for doing inside the ball of the spoon is we use a hook knife. So it's literally a knife that's been bent, and all we then do is we're just going to be carving little by little right into the centre until we've got the depth that we want. If it's an eating spoon, it's going to be quite small, whereas if it's going to be a cooking spoon or a serving spoon, it's going to be a bit bigger. And it depends on the wood. Like I said, this is willow. It's really, really nice and soft. birch is nice and soft. That's taken 10 minutes to get to that situation. But I'm saying that's the process, but it's the technique, it's how you're holding the tools, how you're maintaining the tools as well, are they nice and sharp. That's the thing that's the tricky bit. So the process is quite simple, but all the other bits and pieces, making sure you're cutting in such a way that it's safe and it's not going to strain your hands. That's the stuff that you just need with practice. Or that we discuss when we do the workshops, really.
What do we all think about that? Wasn't that brilliant?
Brilliant.
So how
inspired to make a spoon, definitely.
I was wondering how you got the different colours. You know, the cooking spoon is darker. Is that a different kind of wood?
Yeah, it's a different type of wood. So, like I said about choosing the wood it's got to have the right properties. So if it's like holly, that'll turn, something like that. If it's yew, there's toxins in it, so you want to stay away from that.
Yeah.
But willow, really nice and soft, but it's got a very pale grain pattern to it. Then we've got this one. These ones that have all been used. That's a bit of alder. So normally if you oil them up, it really brings the colour out. But when you're carving alder, there's tannins in it. And when it reacts with the oxygen in the air, it goes this real lovely red. So it starts off white, and then you put it down, and 5 minutes later, it's got this red colour.
Yeah.
And like staining all over your hands as well. But this is one of my favourite ones. You can't see the grain pattern as well as what it used to be able to. This is
Lovely.
Cherry.
Oh,
So
it's
normally
Beautiful, yeah.
Yeah, normally with cherry, you've got a really dark heartwood, so you get it dark around here. And it's been used a lot, this one, so it's dark around in the centre, then around the outside is a lot lighter. But then you've got stuff like beech, it's got a real fine pattern to it. Oak has got a nice pattern. So there's lots of different ones. It's about finding out, and is it hard? Because if it's going to be too hard to carve, it might take too long. But if it's a little bit hard, it's going to wear quite well, so it's not going to wear out. But then it's about getting the grain pattern really. So when we do the workshops, we always have a selection of wood and say, if you want to have a go, it's dead easy, use this one, but you've got this. We've actually got the wood there, so we can recognise the bark and the tree itself. But then we've also got an example of each spoon, so you can see the internal grain pattern.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Morgan. That was absolutely brilliant. I can totally see why your workshop was so popular. And I hope that, who was it, Steve from Middlesbrough got everything he did out of that. You make something that looks, impossible actually seem quite doable and quite simple. I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, one of the things we always make sure though is any leftover wood always gets used. We don't just burn it or throw it away. So we've got a tent peg that was made that was just kicking around the camp. Obviously the mallets, they're like hammers, we use those, so we get the thicker wood that's too thick for spoons, we use that. Yeah, we do loads of different things with it, so nothing goes to waste.
Thank you, Morgan. I'm going to come to Steve now. I love the fact that he's not stopped fiddling with whatever he's with. I guess this is just your life. I mean, for anyone watching, you might think he's got a virtual backdrop there, and it's not. That is actually the room he is actually in, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not my living room, but it is the room that I'm actually physically in real physical space. Yeah.
Steve, when I first spoke to you and invited you to come on here, you said we might get questions about mobile phones because you get those a lot. Well, indeed, I have a question for you about mobile phone. You're absolutely right. So I know that you're, what you've become well known for is taking things apart and making more uses for them. Sheila from Guysborough says she literally has a drawer with 6 aged mobile phones in them. Actually, so do I. I think probably most of us do. She says she feels guilty every time she walks past it. Is there anything she can do with them?
Yeah. And most of us have some kind of similar drawer. 6 is quite high, so that's good going there. I would say it's a specific kind of e-waste. Anything that stores your data on it, and now people do everything through their phones, is a special case. So the first thing you have to do is think about data theft. So if the phone still switches on, just go into that drawer, see if they can fire up. And if you can switch them on, then wipe them and take the SIM card out. And that is the very first thing. And after that, there's a lot of charities actually that specifically want phones. And they even have to really old ones, even dinosaurs. So just go online, like mobile phone charity, and they will often, they'll have collection points in towns, or they often even send you an envelope, prepaid, that you can just post it off. I mean, you might, if it's still working, you might want to resell it. If it still has value, or donate it. If you can't do either of those for any reason, you can contact the manufacturer of the phone. And I think pretty much all major manufacturers have now, because people have been pushing it for a while, they will now dispose of the foam for you. So if you have, in fact, most electrical products, if you're stuck, take it to the place you bought it from or the company who made it and say, deal with this. And the phone companies will send you an envelope again. But you're better off giving it to a charity because they really do have value. For me, they're not very interesting because, like a lot of modern, as things shrink, they have fewer moving parts in them, and I can't really do much with them except for the little buzzy motor. You can make a little brush bot from that. A brush bot, you just get a motor on a little an old dead toothbrush, and it switches with a little battery, and it buzzes around like a little bug. They're quite fun. So yeah, first, data theft. Check if it's got your data on, and then give it away. Or if you don't want to sell it, find a charity. If you can't do that, contact the manufacturer. If none of those appeal to you, or if it's completely dead, if it can't switch on, you can open it up and take the flash card out if you're worried about your data, or just smash the hell out of it with a hammer and then take it to the waste electrical, the wee bit of your local tip, because then it is e-waste. It can join the 50 million tons of e-waste that is produced every year. And often it's merry way to the developing world where someone else gets to deal.
Here's a question from me then, because I'm curious, you know, if these phones are getting smaller and not being very useful for taking apart, what is the house appliance that you most like taking apart? The most useful things in it?
They're on their way out. Do you want to see one?
Yeah.
Go on. I've got one just here.
We're so curious now.
So while Steve's grabbing that, I've just got to say it's not Guysborough, it's Gisborough. I'm a Victorian. If I didn't say it's Gisborough, I'd be pilloried this evening. So it's
Right.
Gisborough.
Thanks, Morgan. I should know that. We did the venue at Gisborough last year, and I said it 1,000 times. Apologies for the good folks of Gisborough. What is that, Steve?
Computer tower. Remember these? They do. You can still find them in offices. You know, you might have one at home. These are lovely because they've got fans in them there. They've got hard drives that do amazing bass tones when you put them in a speaker. They've got LEDs. They've got switches. They've got all kinds of exciting things in there. Even a little button battery, and even a little speaker and a microphone. So loads of workshop material. In fact, one of the videos I've done for Thrift is just an autopsy on one of these, about how to take it apart and what things in there have scrap value. Because if you can get hold of a few of them, there is certain bits of it do have scrap value, like the hard drive and the circuit boards. Some has more than others, but you do have to be careful. You know, just if you don't know what to do with old tech, just take it to your local tip and stick it in the wee section. Yeah, but these are great. If you got one, send it to me.
Yeah, I imagine there are some safety things to think about in taking these things apart, but I know that, as you said, Steve, you've made a video for us which is online from today, showing exactly that, how to take one of those things apart. Pauline, I'm going to come back to you. How are you getting on there? Have you used your Plabric?
Have I had the first stage? And if I can show you the texture, wow. I don't know if you can see. Can you see it goes kind of leathery? It goes a bit, it shrinks. One of the things that can be awkward is that different plastics shrink at different rates. So sometimes you get something that disappears. And so that would need more work, you know, to get it to sort of be a piece that you could then cut and do something with. But yeah. And so some of these, one of these, this shiny plastic didn't like to work at all. I've just had to make do with it. Put a little bit of netting in there.
Oh, it's lovely. It's
bubble wrap. Bubble wrap's quite nice.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
For texture. But this shiny one, I had to try and cover it with plastic, and even that came off. The shiny stuff obviously doesn't.
Yeah.
The iron doesn't melt or meld.
Maybe you have to stitch that with the sewing machine to
yes. Now that's a bit like your quilting. That would work. Yeah.
You could stitch onto it and it would be decorative, but it would hold it down as well.
The problem with the stitching on fabric is that you're perforating it.
Yeah,
perforating it in terms of, then it's not waterproof, and you're perforating it, which means you've drawn a line that might rip.
Yeah.
So the other one I did make once was I made for all my family one year, got a bag for life made out of this kind of thing. This is one that never got finished, but you know, again, it got quite strong. I tried making it with plastic handles, but actually it was better to use a tape of some sort. So this was an unfinished one.
Oh, great.
We all know what we're doing this afternoon, don't we now? Yeah. I'm going to stick with fabric and come to you, Rosie, as you're speaking there. I've got a question for you, which kind of chimes with me actually as well. Janet from Gateshead, she, like me, spent some of lockdown clearing out cupboards, and she said she took a load of old clothes to the charity shop at the end of lockdown, but unfortunately they were overwhelmed and couldn't take them. She was actually quite glad in the end, because having brought them home, she realized that she did quite like some of them and they just needed a refresh. So the question is to you, any great tips on refreshing old clothes?
Well, it depends on what you've got and how you feel about them. But, you know, basically clothes are fabric in stitched up form. So your best tool is your handy unpicker and a pair of scissors, and start taking the things to bits and see what you can make with the fabric. So, you know, I've got some things here. So in terms of an old shirt, you know, you get loads of fabric out of a shirt. I make lots of quilts out of them. And you get buttons and all sorts of thick bits of fabric. With a skirt, you'll get a zip and a little holder. So you're actually recycling all of those things. And then when you have flat fabric, if you're keen on sewing, you can make something else out of it. If it's something that you're fed up of, have a think about whether somebody else might like it that you know. Perhaps you could do swaps, obviously socially distanced swaps. But if somebody's always coveted something that you wear and you're fed up of it, see if you can just swap around. And if you get to the end and nobody wants it and you don't want it, think about cutting it up and making something else with it. One of the things I do a lot of is, if you get a lot of t-shirts, it's great stretchy material. You can cut this in such a way that you can make yarn out of it. Big balls of yarn that you pull. That's the great thing about it being stretchy. And then you can knit or crochet with it, or, you know, make dishcloths or rugs or something. You can have a lot of fun. You've just got to be, I know Pauline said that earlier, you've just got to be patient about taking things to bits. But, you know, with a bit of time and energy, you can make anything into something new. It's really good fun, actually. You don't even have to have a sewing machine.
You're going to make a face mask, yeah, out of an old t-shirt.
You can do that, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Triple layer.
Yeah.
Just before I move on, actually, because you touched on zips there, actually, Rose, and I do have a question from Redcar, from very locally to the festival. It's Andrea from Redcar. She just says, I've been trying to fix a zip and it's a nightmare. Can you help? I remember you told me that zips are just the thing that gets everybody.
Yeah, in the rejig workshops, people ask about zips all the time, because sometimes it's a piece of clothing that you really like, but the zipper's broken and it's going to be a fortune to get somebody else to fix it. So again, quick unpick stick, you know, either a little one with a small blade or a bigger one, and just have a good light and take your time and unpick the original zip. If you've got a stash of things that you've taken to bits, you might have a collection of old zips that'll do for the next thing. Or you can perhaps just fix the zip that's gone wrong. So if the tabs come away and the zip started to open from the bottom, you can sometimes fix that, you know, with a bit of graphite. You can put that on the teeth of the metal zip and try and bring the zipper pull back down again. If that won't work, you can actually get a pair of pliers and take the top bit of the zip off, these tiny little tags. If you take that off on both sides, you can usually find that if you pull the zipper pull up to the top, you can get it back on again and fix the zip that way. If that doesn't work, then you're stuck taking it back out again, which is a long, slow job, but it's better than paying 15 quid for somebody else to do it. Well, so you can do that easily.
When you said graphite there, do you mean like pencil?
Like a pencil, yeah. It's really smart. It has a lubricating effect on the teeth of the zip. I mean, if it's a plastic zip, it won't work with graphite. But if it's a metal one, like in jeans, try that first, or something on a jacket or a sweatshirt. It's worth a try.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed, Rosie. Richard, sorry to keep you waiting all this time. I'm going to come to you.
Don't worry, that was absolutely fascinating. I found about 5 things that I'm doing in the next week. Brilliant. Absolutely.
Me too. We could go on for hours. Richard, I know at the Festival of Thrift you've been running outdoor cooking workshops, but I actually have a question, campfire cooking. So I guess you know a lot about woodland, I hope, because my question to you is a little bit to do with foraging. This one chimes with me too. Oh, actually, this is from Gisborough as well, happily. Andrew from Gisborough. It's about foraging. Again, during lockdown, like Andrew, all my friends were going on and on and on about wild garlic, because that's the season of the lockdown started during. And people who'd shown no interest whatsoever were all of a sudden filling their freezers full of wild garlic soup and so on. Andrew says, foraging bug really got me during my long walks back in the spring. I've got a freezer full of wild garlic and loving it. Not confident collecting mushrooms. So wondered, what can I look out for over the autumn? He wants to keep going with this.
Well, that's great, and great that people are getting out there and using what's on the doorstep, because it's really important. And absolutely brilliant to pick the wild garlic when it's in season. But one thing I always balance people and say to people, don't take too much. A classic thing we do, and we all do it, I'm guilty of it, is we'll go crazy on an ingredient, absolutely eat it every night for a couple of weeks, and then become fed up with it. So the trick with that is take what you need. That old adage, take what you need, share it with friends, share it with family. Obviously, under current rules, make sure you can do that. But absolutely don't take too much, because you will get fed up with it and it will become a bit boring. Brilliant question this time of year. This is the most fantastic time of year for collecting wild food, harvesting, picking up things that people don't want. So I'm thinking of the obvious things like blackberries. We've been blackberrying every day this week. Absolutely brilliant. And there must be hundreds of recipes you can do with blackberries, and there are. And even, I know I've got a sneaking suspicion that you're not a big blackberry fan, Simon. I seem to remember trying to create sweet blackberries.
Kind of like a guilty confession.
Yeah, but I know they go fantastically. So start with something you enjoy. So start with making a bramble. You know, gin, tonic, blackberries, brilliant. There's nothing better this time of year. Absolutely lovely. And if you want to make a quick blackberry gin, don't worry about having 100 different ingredients. Please use what you've got. In that lovely thrifty way, use what you've got in the cupboards. If you've got a little half bottle of gin that you don't really fancy, macerate, that's a bit of a technical word, macerate the blackberries in a little bit of sugar, add the gin. Literally a couple of days later, you can start drinking it. No problem. You don't have to leave it in for months and months. You've literally got a lovely flavoured fruit gin really quickly. Brilliant as a savoury as well. So absolutely really underlooked as pickled blackberries, absolutely lovely. So you want about a third vinegar, a good quality vinegar if you can. It doesn't have to be a fancy wine vinegar. It can be a standard wine vinegar, or a nice flavoured base vinegar, like a cider vinegar, I'm thinking, because they're quite good value as well. And get those blackberries in there with about, again, a third of sugar, a little bit of herbs. Again, use what you've got. I've got a big sage bush. I'm always giving it away and using it in other things. Couple of leaves of sage in there, and you'll have the most beautiful, powerful flavored berry, which will go with anything savory. Just think of it like a pickle, like your lovely sweet and sour pickle. So cured meats, lovely with vegetables, absolutely fantastic with cheese. You know, imagine a pickled blackberry and a lovely piece of cheese. Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. So please use what's on your doorstep. There's loads around. Neighbours are giving away apples. Go for it.
Yeah. So you were saying, I mentioned this pickle. So you were saying the good quality of vinegar. Did you say sugar as well? Some sugar in there?
Yeah, sugar. You want about a third. So if you had about 300 grams of blackberries, you want about 100 gram sugar, 100 mil or thereabouts of a good quality vinegar.
And is this a short pickle, as in, you know, half a day, or is it a long pickle, 3 weeks?
It will keep fine in either in the fridge or a cold place for a good few weeks. What I would do if I was doing it to be a quick preserve, I would warm the fruit with the vinegar and sugar. So like the principle of pickling anything, warm that through, bring it to the boil, turn it off, because you want to preserve the shape of the fruit a little bit. No problem. And it'd be no problem to have a few red blackberries in there as well, you know, the slightly underripe ones, give it a nice bit of tartness. Turn it off, cool it thoroughly. That's fine. That'll be fine for a good few weeks.
Thank you. Wow, isn't that amazing? I never would have thought pickled blackberries. You know, I've been just cycling past all the people picking brambles and thinking, not for me, but you know, I'll be elbowing my way in.
Well,
in there.
Another quick one for you. Little teaspoon of brown sugar, a few blackberries, stir it together, and add some really good whiskey. Maybe not your favourite 20-year-old, but something a little bit down the road. Maybe a blend. Absolutely stunning drink. Stunning.
Right. Pauline, did you want to come in there?
I was just going to say, if the thing I'm not so keen on blackberries, and I'm picking them at the minute and using them, I'll do them in a crumble because the crumble topping is crunchy and therefore I can cope with the seeds. But I don't like the seeds and I don't like the milk.
Me too.
But I crush them, and especially loganberries, I've got a load of those as well. Yeah. I crush them and I make them into monkey's blood so that they go in the freezer in ice cubes. And then it's there when I want a bit of red sauce on my ice cream.
That's a great idea. Absolutely
fantastic.
Really lovely.
So we only have 5 minutes left, believe it or not. That's tragic. I've got literally a dozen questions here. So I'm going to come back to you, Morgan, because I'm amazed you're still with us from the woodland. And I was curious before about when you were saying about don't burn the offcuts. And it kind of chimes with the question I have here. This is Albert from Darlington. He's been spending more time outdoors, mixed luck making campfires, and would be grateful for some expert tips, especially in making fires to cook on. So presumably I can see in the background you've got a fire going there. So we can
I think fire is one of the things we do, for every session, because we've got the kettle on, we're cooking, it's for warmth in the winter and things like that, really. The thing with campfire then is before you light it, make sure you're allowed to light it. And before you light it, make sure you've got a means of putting it out. And then make sure it's somewhere safe. So we've got this nice raised fire hearth here behind. There's loads and loads and loads of different ways of lighting a fire. But what I find is it's all about preparation. So I say go and get some sticks. And we call them spaghetti sticks. So sticks as skinny as spaghetti that are already dead. They're on the floor and they're going to snap dead easy because they'll come down. We've got some strong winter day. The branches have been shaken. You've got little branches come down like that. Then what you do is you get some that are as thick as pencils, and then you get some that are as thick as your thumb. And so then what you've got is you're going to build up this layer. And so we call it now a hashtag fire because it looks like a hashtag. You've basically got 2 sticks like that, then 2 sticks like that. We used to call it a log cabin fire. Put 3 or 4 sticks on the bottom. We grab a bit of cotton wool. The cotton wool will burn really well. You can go in the woods, you can find some pine sap it's basically turpentine. It's going to burn really, really well. If you don't have that, you can get a little bit of Vaseline or something on it. And then basically you build your hashtag and then you light your cotton wool with your bit of pine sap on it. That'll burn like a candle, burn like a wick for a long time. And all you do then is just build your layers up. So a layer sticks that way, a layer sticks that way. We'll just keep building because we know the fire triangle. We need fuel, heat and oxygen. That gives us the fuel that's nice and small. So a small flame can light a small spaghetti stick. Then a small spaghetti stick can light a small pencil stick. So as it's building up. So we've got the fuel, we've got the oxygen because it's built up. Loads of oxygen is going to get inside. But the other thing about the fire triangle is we need height because fire will always climb a ladder. And if you've done it like this, it's going to burn up, burn up, burn up. And what you can do is once you've got sticks that are like thumb thickness, and it's on there, you can actually just put your pan, you can put your pot, you can put your kettle on the top. And whilst the fire is just building, you can boil a litre of water like that. And if you have got your wild garlic, then you can put a little bit of oil in a frying pan and make tempura wild garlic. It's lovely. Just some corn flour, a bit of soda, mix it up, dip your wild garlic in if you've got it in the freezer, stick it in a frying pan. Wonderful. Absolutely. So it's the sort of thing you can do. You can light in a forest, you can light the fire with the resources there, and you can have a little meal. One of the things we tend to use a lot is fire steel. So basically, you just drag that down, and that'll light your cotton wool. It'll work if it's wet, it'll work if it's windy, and you just keep it in your pocket all the time, and you've got your fire straight away.
Sounds amazing. Question to everybody. I mean, we've literally got 1 minute, so I'm just going to ask about lockdown cooking, maybe campfire cooking. If we've got this fire going for Albert in Darlington, what are we cooking on it? Anybody? What's been our sort of our big outdoor maybe cooking recipe success of lockdown?
Or anything you can cook in an oven, in a kitchen, you can cook on a campfire. Anything.
Is that true, Richard?
Coffee.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And on the upcycling theme, absolutely right. Use what you've got, old pans, old baking tins. Don't worry about buying sophisticated new equipment. You don't need it. You absolutely don't need it. You'll have it. And if you haven't got it, someone you know will have it, or you can buy it from a charity shop or an upcycling place. Please use what you've got. One thing we've been making a lot of, I'll just give you a quick one, is variations on different vegetable curries. Again, We've been doing them outside in the garden on a tiny little fire pit in a pan. Really safe, as in safe because it's quick to cook. You're not messing around with raw meat outside. So things like tin chickpeas, we've been putting nettles in there, really getting everyone involved in the family. Absolutely beautiful. So you think of that sort of classic Indian paneer curry with chickpeas and potatoes and spinach. You can use anything in there, your favorite spices, all those lovely green vegetables. Great this time of year with leeks, and we are fantastic at growing leeks in the north. And leeks are brilliant in that sort of curry, a chickpea curry, some really nice, cook them quite fine. The leeks quite fine. Get your spices in there. Use a spice mix if you want. Lovely. It's warming. Just about everyone will eat it. It's great.
There we go. Pauline says coffee. Adrian, no doubt, would say bread.
Well, you know, a little bit of this start, and we were talking about discard, that into your pan. That's going to be great with, you know, some of your forage herbs, some of your, you know, some of the fruit. It's going to be tangy. It's going to be a little bit different, isn't it? But it's going to be great and lovely.
I think one of the things that you can get, anyone can get, is nettle seed.
Yeah, flatbread. I'd say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a fire works beautifully.
Yeah, it just sort of fluff up, don't you? And away you go.
And you could all chat to each other all day. So could I. But we've actually got a minute over time, I'm afraid. So I'm going to have to draw it to a close. I wish we could go on. I want to thank everyone here. Thank Richard Allen,
thank you,
Richard Allen, Morgan Lax of Rewilding Adventures, Pauline Taylor of Infinite Arts, Rosi Thornton of Rejig, Steve Summers of Noisy Toys, and our fabulous baker from Festival of Thrift, and many other things.
Brilliant.
It's been super having
we do it again next year. Let's do this again.
Let's do it.
Tomorrow. I hope we can also do it for real out there.
Oh, please, yeah.
Really nice. This has been part, as you know, of a full day of online activity at Festival of Thrift, which is still ongoing at festivalofthrift.co.uk. So if you're signing off now, do go and have a look at what's going on there. Thanks again to everybody, and we'll see you.